Hello, my name is Nicole, and thank you so much for taking the time out to listen. Today, I titled this message, Led into a Trap. And this message goes out to those individuals, especially the young, who are being misled, mistreated, or even manipulated into doing some things that they really don't want to do. And ultimately, the plan is to kill, steal, and destroy based on what we know about Satan. He wants his minions to kill, steal, and destroy. And so if he can be able to infiltrate a system, infiltrate a human being, or anything else, he will do just that. Led into a trap. You may have been that one years ago who got led into a trap. There was maybe money taken from you. Maybe someone physically abused you. You may have ended up getting a divorce prematurely. You may have lost a job, messing around with someone or something. Sometimes the enemy will use people, places, and things to seduce us. So it's not always about something bad happening first, because quite naturally, a lot of folks are not going to be led into a trap through something bad happening. But that does happen when there are examples made of some people. Okay. But a lot of times the enemy is going to sweet talk, charm, seduce. I have audio about the womanizer. I have audio about manipulative men. I have audio about some of the shady women as well. Okay. Some of the ones that are up to no good, they will use their sexuality to lure men as well as the same sex in. Okay. And this sort of thing we see right there on our television screens, on the internet, and elsewhere. And then what we sometimes will do is forget that this sort of thing happens in the real world as well. Okay. And it could be happening to some of you all right now, especially if you are in an online dating relationship and you have yet to meet the person. You have yet to do a background check. You haven't spent too much time really getting to know a person. You can easily be led into a trap. Children of light end up becoming children of darkness on a regular because they are not walking with the Lord as closely as they claim or as they believe. I want to give you an example. I am in Numbers again. This is Numbers 25, and I'm talking about Moab seducing Israel. And I'm also going to spiritualize this message when it comes to some of you all being seduced by a group, by an individual, or even by a very, very good opportunity. Let us begin. Moab seduces Israel, Numbers 25. I'm reading out of the Life Application Bible, New International Version by Tyndale. While Israel was staying in Shittim, the men began to indulge in sexual immorality with Moabite women, who invited them to the sacrifices to their gods. The people ate and bowed down before these gods, so Israel joined in worshiping the Baal of Peor. And the Lord's anger burned against them. The Lord said to Moses, "Take all the leaders of these people, kill them, and expose them in broad daylight before the Lord, so that the Lord's fierce anger may turn away from Israel." Now, the person, the sorcerer, that thought that it would be a good idea to put these women in front of the Israelites was Balaam. Now remember, Balaam had been given all sorts of oracles from the one true God to King Balak, who wanted the Israelites to be cursed, but instead he was blessing them. But then turned around and ended up thinking that, well, it would be a good idea to get these Israelites to turn away from their God if we expose them to other gods, expose them to women, and so forth. And this happens in so many different industries where there are Satanists involved. I know that you believe in God. I know that you trust in him, but our group doesn't. And how can we get you to stop trusting in him? And a lot of times these once children of light fall into darkness because they get exposed to all sorts of opportunities, money, women, substances. They may even meet with some individuals who are very good at mind control. And so before long, they are just turning away from their faith from God, or they may turn back, but it is corrupted. Their faith is unfortunately corrupted. So in the first verse, it shows the great challenge Israel had to face. The most dangerous problem for Moses and Joshua was not Jericho's hostile army, but the ever-present temptation. Let me stop right there. It's that ever-present temptation that goes on with some of these entertainers, as well as maybe some of you all in your professions. There's this ever-present temptation to compromise. Okay. And if you are that one, once again, who is weak, you are going to compromise sooner or later. So the ever-present temptation to compromise was with the pagan Canaanite religions and cultures. Okay. This is what is going on with Israel at that particular time. So in verse 5, so Moses said to Israel's judges, each of you must put to death those of your men who have joined in worshiping the Baal of Peor. Verse 6, then an Israelite man brought to his family a Midianite woman right before the eyes of Moses and the whole assembly of Israel, while they were weeping at the entrance to the tent of meeting. When Phinehas, son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron, the priest, saw this, he left the assembly, took a spear in his hand, and followed the Israelite into the tent. He drove the spear through both of them, through the Israelite and into the woman's body. Then the plague against the Israelites was stopped, and those who died in the plague numbered 24,000. Now you tell me if God doesn't allow some things to happen in great number. See, sometimes we're sitting back and we are angered, or we are confused, or we are even bitter about some things that's going on in our nation. But the truth of the matter is that when God sees that there is a problem that is festering, that's growing, he will allow plagues to take some people out of here. For some of you all, you may have experienced a minor plague in your life, and that minor plague was as a result of your disobedience, your distraction. You may have been mixed up with the wrong person or group, and so it was bad news after bad news after bad news. The Lord allowed that sort of thing so that you would get right. You may have even witnessed some people dying around you as a result. Once again, when the Lord has called you and chose you, you need to walk with him. And if there is any bad examples around you, anyone or any group that is causing all sorts of dissension, causing you to turn away from the Lord can very well rid you of that group. Okay. Sometimes in a minor way or in a major way that will cause you to grieve. What kind of God am I serving? A powerful God, an almighty God, a just God, a righteous God. That is who you are serving. This passive God that some of these people speak about is not the God that is in this Bible. This God takes people out of here. We give way too much credit, as the Lord spoke to me some years back, way too much credit to Satan. God says, oh, I take people out too. I send plagues. I am not going to be mocked. I'm not going to have my people be distracted by false images, false idols, false this, false that. I mean, God is not going to have anyone be mixed up in all sorts of things that lead them away. But we can do that. We can get mixed up with the idols. We can get mixed up with the foolishness. We can be seduced. Okay. But God gives us a choice, though. We don't have to be caught up in a lot of things. So the Lord said to Moses, in which I did get into, let's read on verse 12. Therefore I tell him, I am making my covenant of peace with him, he and his, for the honor of his God, and made atonement for the Israelites. And this is what was said to Moses. Verse 14, the name of the Israelite who was killed with the Midianite woman was Samaria, son of Salu, and the leader of a Simeonite family. And the name of the Midianite woman who was put to death was Kozebi, daughter of Zur, a tribal chief of a Midianite family. Verse 16, the Lord said to Moses, treat the Midianites as enemies and kill them. That's the Lord. Okay, let me say that again. The Lord said to Moses, treat the Midianites as enemies and kill them. Okay, that same God that's in the Bible, that same God that loves, appreciates, just the one who is just, the one that just does so much. Okay, we see the good side, the loving side, the merciful side, but he's also that God who will take people out of here when they are just spreading Satan's way, Satan's precepts, Satan's destruction. The Lord said to Moses, treat the Midianites as enemies and kill them, because they treated you as enemies when they deceived you in the affair of Peor and their sister Kozebi, the daughter of a Midianite leader, the woman who was killed when the plague came as a result of Peor. Okay. It is clear from Phinehas' story that some anger is proper and justified. You understand? I know some people want to fight up against that, but some anger is proper and justified. Phinehas was angry because of his zeal for the Lord. But how can we know when our anger is appropriate and when it should be restrained? Ask these questions. When you become angry, why am I angry? Number 2, whose rights are being violated, mine or another's? Number 3, is the truth a principle of God being violated? If only your rights are at stake, it may be wiser to keep angry feelings under control. But if the truth is at stake, anger is often justified. So you are justified in anger. Let's say, for instance, if you found out that your husband or your wife was being seduced by someone or some opportunity, and you approached them and you were not real sweet and nice about it, right? Instead, you were disappointed. You were angry. But if the truth is at stake, anger is often justified, although violence and retaliation are usually the wrong way to express it. And a lot of times people find out somebody's being seduced by someone or something and they want to go off the deep end. You got to calm those emotions down, because a lot of people, I've said this in other audio, they end up 6 feet deep in their grave, or they either they end up being in jail behind being so angry because they found out something about a partner or about someone like a family member. Okay. Phinehas's case was unique. If we are becoming more and more like God, we should be angered by sin. Okay. So yes, I'm angry. I'm angry when a relative is seduced by someone or something and it takes them away from their family. I am angered when I notice or I hear about something that's going on in a network because someone once again got misled, mistreated, or what have you. I see that there are those individuals, even in the Bible, who God had to expose. He had to expose, and he also had to take out of here because they were doing nothing more than being a poor example for everyone else. And so I hope that some of you all will realize how serious it is when the enemy is at work, when he is seducing through people, through opportunity. Okay. You have every right to be angry, even though some will say, oh no, it's okay, it's all right. There's sin involved. There's sexual sin. There's idolatry. You see, the combination of sexual sin and idolatry over there in Numbers 25, verse 1-3, it turns out was Balaam's idea. You see, this was the same Balaam who had just blessed Israel and who appeared to be on their side. We got some people. It's the same husband who was up in front of the congregation, talk about how much he loved his wife, but then he turned right around and he allowed the enemy to use someone to seduce him. It was the same wife who was out there working for the community, but then turned right around and did some shady things that brought the community down. You see how people talk out of two sides of their mouth, and then they want sometimes to enlist your help, or they want to tap on somebody's shoulder that you know, and you hear about the stories. How could he get mixed up into that? How could he be seduced? How could that one who was doing so well? And then it happens. The same Balaam who had just blessed Israel and who appeared to be on their side. It is easy to see how the Israelites were misled, for Balaam seemed to say and do all the right things, at least for a while. And we saw this in Numbers 22-24. Do check those audios out, where I talk about the sorcerer who was requested to curse Israel. Not realize that, now listen to this, not until Balaam had inflicted great damage on them, okay? Not until Balaam had inflicted great damage on them did the Israelites realize that he was greedy. He used sorcery and was deeply involved in pagan religious practices. We must be careful to weigh both the words and the deeds of those who claim to offer spiritual help. And that sort of thing goes on with me with all these audios. There are those who, okay, is this really spiritual help or not? Am I being blessed by this or not? Right? Some of you all, you go on other YouTube channels. Is this really beneficial to you or not? You see? And sometimes when you're so confused, you end up just throwing up your hands on all of it. And you start making false accusations on some people, and you gotta be careful. You don't curse. You don't curse. God's called, God's chosen. You don't do that sort of thing. You don't wish evil on us. There are those, yes, I know, that are not right, and they are just full of Satan. But here is one who is not. I went through a lot of stuff, and the Lord delivered me up out of a lot of stuff too. And so I thank him. I'm grateful to the one true God. I believe in Jesus, and I believe in the Holy Spirit. And I also believe that God will bless as well as curse. And those individuals who feel like they know so much about one thing or another, it's funny how they end up talking out of two sides of their mouth, or there's some actions or some deeds that they're called out on. And I don't even know them personally, but they're called out on because God called them to change, and yet they don't want to change. And so it's cursed be to everybody, because the truth shows up. The truth is cutting. The truth will set you free. When you are being seduced by an opportunity or by a person, and those individuals who approach you on that seduction are only speaking truth, that's not the time to start covering up. That's not the time to start telling lies or being secretive. And I know individuals who do just that. They are being seduced by television shows. They're being seduced by opportunities elsewhere. They're being seduced by their past. They're being seduced by their present. And some of them are looking to be seduced in the future. But yet their attention is everywhere else on the one true God, as well as the wife or the husband of their youth. Their attention is everywhere else but on their families. You got a daughter or son that needs something, and you too busy being seduced by some type of purchase you want to make. You see? Or there is someone out there who they're going through so much, and there is no help in hand because somebody's caught up with the seductress. You see what I mean? God shows us what is really going on with some people. And then when we approach them, they want to come up with excuses. They want to say we're crazy. We don't know what we're talking about. They want to say that we're this spirit and that spirit. Meanwhile, they're the ones that's seduced by greed. We got some people who they don't know how to stop eating. The doctor warned them. The wife warned them. The sister warned them. The boyfriend warned them. And they still keep eating and eating. They're seduced by their love of food. Others are seduced by substance abuse. Every time they see a bottle, every time they see something that reminds them of a drug or what have you, they got to figure out a way to get to it. Then when they get to it, they end up being easily led down a reckless path. I know that it hurts to see some of our relatives and friends and co-workers and other people in the church and elsewhere going through. But people make choices. Some of them are too sick to make a choice on their own. So then the Lord will raise us up to put them in a position where, guess what? We're going to make the choice for you. Here's the choice. Well, wait a minute. What's the option? No. The option was what you just already picked. You already had an option, and that one is destructive. So here's the other side. Here's the choice that we made for you. So Moab, seduced by Israel. Some of you all, you know some people who are being seduced by others, by opportunities and so forth. And we just lift them up in Jesus' mighty name, because we know that there is righteous living and then there's unrighteous living. And we don't want to see our friends, our family members, and others in hell. And we don't want to be in hell either, where we can see some folks. You see what I mean? But I want to be in heaven. I want to be in a place where I know that I'm going to be all right with the Lord, because I'm being obedient, because I'm trusting in him and not leaning on my own understanding. I love the fact that those of you all who are humble in spirit can listen to the audios and see yourself, good, bad, and otherwise, and want to do what's right. And I say, just keep on. Just keep fighting a good fight. Keep doing what is right, and God will continue to bless you. Well, that is it. Thank you so much, as always, for taking time out of your busy schedule to listen. You've been listening to YouTube, NM Enterprise 7. Subscribe today. Also, if you haven't given, we do welcome donations. And if there's anything that you want to discuss, anything in the description box that is of interest, by all means, reach out. Blessings to you.